La Sorcière de Lyon. The villagers of Saint-Antoine whispered her name like a prayer and a curse in the same breath. Marguerite Valois moved through the market with quiet grace, her dark hair caught beneath a simple cap, herbs bundled at her waist. When fever ravaged the countryside, they came to her door at midnight. When childbirth threatened to claim both mother and babe, they sought her skilled hands. And when their desires remained unquenched in cold marriage beds, they discreetly purchased her special tinctures, faces flushed with shame and anticipation. They called her La Sorcière de Lyon, though never to her face. The widow's cottage sat at the forest's edge, garden bursting with plants both common and strange. Inside, the air hung heavy with dried flowers and mysterious powders. Villagers who crossed her threshold felt an intoxicating warmth settle over them as she worked, her fingers tracing paths across fevered skin that left trails of tingling relief. Father Laurent watched from his pulpit as his congregation dwindled during Sunday Mass, drawn instead to Marguerite's enigmatic remedies. The way men's eyes lingered on her form as she collected water from the village well disturbed him deeply. When young Marie Dubois disappeared one misty autumn morning, followed by 12 more children in the weeks that following, whispers of admiration transformed into murmurs of fear. The same neighbors who had moaned in pleasure under her healing touch now recalled strange lights from her cottage windows at ungodly hours, the unusual herbs in her garden, her rejection of suitors after her husband's mysterious death. As the king's magistrate arrived with his instruments of inquiry, the village discovered how quickly gratitude could transform into bloodlust. Marguerite's screams from the interrogation chamber awakened something primal in the villagers, a terrible, shameful excitement they could neither acknowledge nor resist. The interrogation. They came for her at dawn. The magistrate, Henri Boguet, known throughout France for his zealous pursuit of witches, ordered her stripped before the questioning began. Her clothes were torn away by rough hands that lingered too long, exposing the birthmark beneath her left breast that had once been kissed tenderly by her husband. Now it was prodded and examined as evidence of the devil's touch. "The mark does not bleed," announced the pricker, after jabbing it repeatedly with his needle. The crowd of witnesses shuddered with collective revulsion and fascination. Marguerite's body, once sought after for its healing power, was now displayed as proof of her corruption. The magistrate's eyes burned with fervor as he circled her naked form, noting each imperfection, each curve that might harbor wickedness. The strappado came first, her arms wrenched behind her back, then hoisted by rope until her shoulders threatened to tear from their sockets. Boguet asked about the missing children, about unholy Sabbats in the forest, about carnal congress with demons. Each denial brought another jerk of the rope, another symphony of popping joints. "I healed them," she gasped through tears. "Only healed." The water torture followed. Stretched across a wooden bench, they forced linen down her throat and poured pitcher after pitcher of water until her belly distended obscenely. The pressure built inside her like a tide until she thought she would burst. When they pressed on her swollen abdomen, water and bile erupted from her mouth and nose in a violent stream. Between sessions, the magistrate's assistant applied salves to her wounds, not from mercy, but to ensure she would survive for further questioning. His hands moved with unsettling gentleness across her bruised flesh. His breathing quickened as he tended to her. The trial. Saint-Antoine's town hall had never held so many bodies. They pressed against each other in the summer heat, straining to hear each accusation. Father Laurent testified to finding strange dolls made of twisted cloth hidden beneath the church altar. Dolls pierced with thorns and stained with substances he dared not identify. Widow Moreau, whose husband Marguerite had tried to save from consumption, now recalled how her spouse had cried out Marguerite's name in his final fevered moments, his body arching in what seemed less like pain and more like ecstasy. The tavern keeper swore he had seen her gathering dew at dawn, naked beneath the full moon, her skin glowing with an unnatural light. His description of her form was suspiciously detailed. Most damning was the testimony of young Thomas Fournier, the sole child to return after vanishing for 3 days. His hollow eyes stared at nothing as he spoke of a cave beneath Marguerite's cottage, of strange herbs that made the children sleep while she drew blood from their inner thighs for her ungodly bruise. His parents clutched him protectively, though they had refused Marguerite's offers to treat his lifelong seizures just months before. Throughout the proceedings, Marguerite sat slumped in the accused's chair, her once lustrous hair now matted, her healing hands mangled by the interrogator's tools. When permitted to speak, her voice emerged as a rasp. "I mixed chamomile for their sleep and honey for their coughs," she whispered. "I delivered your children into this world. I closed your parents' eyes in death. I have only ever served this village." The magistrate smiled thinly. "And how did you acquire such knowledge? What demon whispered these secrets to you in exchange for your soul and the souls of 13 innocent children?" The verdict. The deliberations were brief. On a wind-whipped September morning, with mist still clinging to the village square, they read her sentence. Marguerite Valois, once revered as a healer, was condemned as La Sorcière de Lyon, guilty of 13 counts of child abduction, consorting with demons, poisoning livestock, cursing crops, and unnatural influence over the minds and bodies of the villagers. The sentence was death by fire, purification through flame. As they led her to the pyre, several women who had once sought her remedies for barrenness or menstrual pain turned their faces away. Men who had once desired her healing touch now clutched stones, ready to hurl them if she dared speak incantations. Bound to the stake, faggots piled high around her legs, Marguerite's eyes found Father Laurent's in the crowd. "You know where the children are," she said, her voice suddenly clear and carrying across the hushed square. "In the abandoned mine shaft where you took them, where you perform your true worship." The priest's face remained impassive as he made the sign of the cross. The torch touched the kindling. As flames climbed her body, villagers swore they saw her lips moving in what might have been a curse or a prayer. Some claimed her body never truly burned, that it transformed into a flock of ravens that darkened the sky as they fled toward Lion. Others insisted they heard children's laughter emanating from the flames. The missing children were never found. The following spring, crops failed throughout the region, and a wasting sickness claimed many who had testified against her. The village well ran dry, then filled with water that tasted of ash. They stopped whispering her name after that, in prayer or in curse. But on nights when the moon hangs full and heavy over Saint-Antoine, some say they can still feel the ghost of her touch, bringing either healing or damnation, depending on what one truly deserves.